Do you remember Mzbel, the lady who in the early 2000s sang the song I be 16 years, I go dey be like this so if you touch my tino, I go tell mommy yo, I lie yo. You remember that song, right? You see, Mzbel, whose real name is Belinda Nana Equia Amua, as at the period between the early and late 2000s, was one of the hottest musicians in the country. When it comes to women or females, Mzbel was singularly the most sought after hip life musician in the country and even outside the country. However, during the period that Mzbel was reigning as an artist here in Ghana, there was a story, a rumor. Some said it was true, whilst others said it wasn't true. The rumor was that Mzbel, as at 2006, was raped by some gang of armed robbers who raided her home. According to narration or stories posted by Modern Ghana and Ghana Web, it is said that Mzbel was sleeping at her home located in Bawi with one of her dancers. Now, whilst they were over there sleeping around 2 a.m., some intruders, 2 in number, invaded the house. Mzbel, according to narration, was lying down when she suddenly felt a very heavy slap on her back. She woke up only to find these 2 intruders whose faces were covered with handkerchiefs or bandana. You see, from this point, there are 2 sides of the story. One from the manager of Mzbel, who granted an interview with Modern Ghana a day after the incident, and one from Mzbel, who several months later and years later narrated the incidents on radio and TV. Now, let's first of all take it from the side of Mzbel's manager. According to Mzbel's manager, he stated that Mzbel wasn't actually raped by the gang of armed robbers. According to the manager, when the intruders entered into the home and then woke Mzbel up, they asked Mzbel for monies and any valuables on her. Mzbel immediately showed them where they can find them. And according to the manager of Mzbel, they locked Mzbel together with another person who is a dancer in one particular room, and then they searched the entire house and they were able to go away with DVD decks. They were able to go away with $900 and then 500 euros and laptop and several other items. But years later or months later, in the narration of Mzbel, she stated that when the intruders entered into the home, they slapped her back and then she woke up. Immediately, they woke the other person who was also living in the house with Mzbel. In the narration of Mzbel, she stated that when the intruders got into her room and then woke her up, they asked about monies and other valuable items in the house. Immediately, out of fear and panic for her life and that of the other person who was living together with her in the house, Mzbel was willing to give them anything they wanted just for them to go away. After they had taken everything they wanted to take, one of them, while inside the bedroom of Mzbel, forcefully had intercourse with Mzbel inside the bedroom. The other person also dragged Mzbel into the kitchen, and over there, he also did some soccer pimps with Mzbel inside the kitchen. So Mzbel was raped twice, in her own words and in her own narration. Now, Mzbel in another interview stated that whilst these people were attempting to forcefully have their way with her, she begged them that they should not. She even in the narration stated that she told them she was pregnant. However, the intruders responded by telling her that they were sent to kill her, and if they are only trying to sucker pimp her forcefully and not killing her, she should be very lucky and she should shut her mouth, because whatever she does, they can change their minds and then unalive her. That was what Mzbel said in an interview. Now, you see, after they did all this, they took laptops, they took $900, 500 euros, they took some DVD deck, cassette players, and several other items, and then left Mzbel and that particular person who were living with Mzbel. Mzbel further narrates that immediately these people left, she also ran to the hospital where she was checked for HIV. The results came out negative. This gave her a little sign of relief. However, she was placed on some medications in order for her not to get any infections from the forced intercourse those 2 intruders had with her. Now, Mzbel further states that a report was lodged, or a complaint was lodged with the Ghana Police Service, and the Ghana Police started an investigation. But later in an interview, Mzbel also expressed her dissatisfaction with the way the Ghana Police took the matter on. The Ghana Police took several days looking for the 2 intruders who robbed Mzbel at her home. However, they couldn't find them. So one day, according to reports, at a barbering salon near Osu, this particular guy, I mean one of the intruders who invaded the home of Mzbel, went with the laptop they had stolen from Mzbel in order to sell to the saloon owner. Now the name of the saloon owner, according to reports, was Mr. George Lutrot, a 35-year-old man. Now this particular man bought the laptop for how much? 2.5 million cedis. Remember, the incident occurred in 2006. So as at 2006, they were selling the laptop for 2.5 million cedis. Today, 2.5 million cedis is equivalent to 250 cedis. So Mr. George Lutrot bought the thing and then paid half, 1.5 million cedis. That is 150 Ghana cedis. So there was somebody at the barbering salon who suspected those guys, because the person was like, over here, there are usually people who steal items and sell to others. Considering how cheap they were selling the laptop, he immediately suspected it was stolen item. So he reported to the police and described them. The police found a day one Tuesday and then raided that particular salon. However, they missed the guy by just a bit, because it was that day he was coming to take the balance. They missed him. The police missed him narrowly. However, they took the owner of the saloon, the man who was buying the laptop, investigated him. He described that particular individual as a butcher who was selling meat at Medina. The Ghana police took that particular evidence and furthered their investigations, but still the police could not find them. One day, Mzbel and a friend were at a beach in Labadi, the Labadi beach. Then immediately, Mzbel spotted one guy and was like, this looks like one of those who invaded my home. Mzbel looked closely and then bam, it was truly one of them. Mzbel and their friend immediately called the Ghana police to inform them that one of the individuals who had intruded her home, robbed her and raped her, is standing right here at Labadi Beach in front of them. They should hurry up and come and take the guy. Now, in the narration of Mzbel, she says that the Ghana police response was that they should find a way of keeping the guy, because as it stands now, they do not have an available vehicle to rush to that particular Labadi Beach place to arrest the guy. Mzbel says that it was a security guard at Labadi Beach who helped them to hold the guy, to apprehend the guy, hold him, and then drag him to the police station and then handed him over to the police. After handing him over, the police were able to interrogate that particular guy, and then he led them to arresting the other guy. So the two of them were now arrested. They were arraigned before court and then they were sentenced to serve at the Nsawan prison. There are no evidence or no story as to the precise years they were sentenced to, and in the narration of Mzbel, she did not also mention the precise number of years they were to serve. However, in 2023-2024, Mzbel granted an interview with a host who was trying to achieve the Guinness World Record for the longest interview conducted. So Mzbel was one of the hosts. Over there, Mzbel stated that she heard that those two guys died while serving their sentence at the Nsawan prison. However, years before that particular interview, one particular publication said that Mzbel mentioned that the guys were able to escape prison by pouring soup on the prison guard's face. After that particular incident, Mzbel's career began to take a different turn, because there was a lot of information which she said were false about her in the public. Everybody was saying what they wanted to say about her regarding to that particular incident. Whilst the manager denied she wasn't raped and stated otherwise, Mzbel admitted to being raped, sexually assaulted, and then robbed. Now, this particular incident affected Mzbel's career very, very well, because in the interview granted by Mzbel's manager a day after the incident, he stated that Mzbel would go for some vacation, but they don't disclose the country, in order for her to cool down and then manage the trauma she's going through from the incident. But in an interview granted by Mzbel, she stated that the management abandoned her after the incident, and the management even traveled out knowing very well that she's on her own, she's going through trauma and all that. Mzbel also stated that after the incident she got about 20 million donation. Today 20 million as of 2006 today would be like 2,000 Ghana cedis donation, and according to Mzbel she only received 3 million. That is like 300 Ghana cedis out of the 2,000 Ghana cedis equivalent. Good. So that is it. Now Mzbel also stated that she went on her own and then started doing her music solo, like without a manager, and then continued. However, even though Mzbel is still very much alive today, she is very dormant and doesn't really, and it's not really active in the music industry, but she's still doing very well for herself, and anytime she enters the studio she brings out a banger. Remember Asi Bonlanga she brought out recently. Here's a brief background or biography of Mzbel. She attended the Morning Star Primary School, then she went to the Owusu Males Junior High School, then to the Abuakwa State College. So after completing Abuakwa State College, she went to the Ghana Institute of Languages where she learned French and English. After learning French and English, she further went to another institution where she studied a course in TV production. After that, she had an employment as a presenter, a children's show presenter. First, she worked at Adum TV, formerly known as Groove, Adum FM, formerly known as Groove FM. She worked at another radio station. Then she moved to a TV station, then to Metro TV, where she worked for a long period of time, and then decided to venture into music. So when she ventured into music, her music started picking up, especially when the 16 years banger was all over the country and outside the country. Now she couldn't combine doing the media work with music, so she decided to just quit and concentrate on her music. And so this particular incident started taking a toll on her career. However, Mzbel is still loved. Anytime she enters the studio, it's a banger.